everyone. We'd like to start off the meeting by asking Councilman Boudreaux to lead us in prayer and Councilman Lewis to lead us in the pledge.
Thank you. Heavenly and most merciful Father, we ask that you be with us at this time as we conduct the business of the Lafayette Consolidated Government. We ask that you guide our words, our thoughts, and our decisions here tonight. We ask that you continue to put a covering over our first responders, our government employees, as they continue to respond to the needs of the people. We ask that you protect this place as we have gathered to do your work. These and all things we ask in your darling Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Boudreaux. Thank you, Councilman Lewis. Appreciate it. Welcome, everyone, here this evening. We thank you for being here. Just a quick announcement. If it's feeling stuffy in here, we have to let you know that the AC is not working. And a contractor is en route, so it might get a little hot in here, literally. All righty. Get started. We welcome you to the City Parish Council meeting. We, as your representatives in the Lafayette Consolidated Government, welcome your involvement and encourage your participation. This meeting is a public hearing. If you wish to address the council on any item on this agenda, please fill out the request form in the foyer on the computer that is provided. The electronic request to address the council form must be filled out and submitted prior to the call of the agenda item, or you will not be given an opportunity to speak. If assistance is needed with submitting the request, staff is available to help. In the event a speaker has completed their comments prior to the expiration of their allotted 5 minutes, any remaining time at that point shall be forfeited. If you have materials you wish to submit to the council, please give those to Council Clerk Ms. Veronica Williams, who's seated to my left, right in the middle. In an effort to allow everyone an opportunity to be heard, the 5-minute rule will be in effect. We ask that speakers refrain from debating personal attacks and from making confrontational or derogatory comments. I'm requesting that the first row to my left be used for media only. Lastly, food and drinks are not allowed in the auditorium, and all phones and electronic devices shall be silenced from this point forward. I'm also requesting that anyone who approaches the council state their name and title for the official record. Our meeting procedures are by resolution and not by Robert's Rules of Order. Documents including agenda item, ordinances, and resolutions and minutes related to this meeting are posted online at LafayetteLA.gov, or you may refer to the web address on the top of the agenda. The council encourages your involvement and participation by volunteering for boards and commissions. If you are interested in finding out which board suits your interest, call 291-8800 or pick up a pamphlet at the door. Moving right along to chair announcements. Item number 17, Ordinance 061-2018, relative to a downtown conditional use permit, is being deferred until June the 5th meeting per the request of the Development and Planning Department to consider the ordinance along with accompanying a resolution with reference to an alcohol waiver request for the same business. I'd also at this time like to wish Kyle, Council Meeting Security Officer, a happy birthday. He will celebrate on May 28th. Happy birthday, Kyle. Thank you for what you do. And moving to a new announcement. The Finance Evaluations team has continued to review the options to address the unfunded state mandates which place stress on the parish general fund. We have determined that there are other opportunities which exist that could provide for additional funding of the District Attorney's Office. With that said, the four authors of Resolution 31-2018 are withdrawing the resolution from tonight's council agenda. With that being said, item number 11, Resolution 31-2018, on calling an election with reference to the DA operations is being pulled from tonight's agenda. Item number 11, sorry about that. Item number 11. Okay. Moving on to council announcements. Mr. Boudreau?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have an announcement of an initiative that's going to be deployed in the month of July, and I just have a statement I would like to read for the public's purpose and all those who are invited to be a part of this. Since being on this council, I've had the honor and the pleasure of taking on a few causes. Right out the gates in January of 2008, the council had to rise up against a proposal to convert an old bank building on Marsh Street into the new location of the Greyhound bus lines, which would have been very, very detrimental to that community. We're thankful that we prevailed, and today the most active functioning police precinct is operating there daily on a 24-hour basis. Not long after, we had to head an effort to bring a plan to some resolve to a 25-year, not going anywhere adjudicated property process, which we can now proudly acknowledge that we have a full process in place and have started on the first set of properties to put those back into commerce. Then we had to teach. Not all adjudicated properties were blight, and not all blighted properties are adjudicated. We then created, with the help of Planning, Zoning, and Codes Department at the time, Operation Blight Out, clean up and out our community, holding landowners accountable for the impact that their property conditions had on their neighbors in their neighborhoods. When I arrived on this council in 2008, Lafayette Consolidated Government was condemning 3 to 4 properties a year, a long and lengthy process with a lot of resistance. Now we are condemning 2 to 3 a month. If you have the fortune of passing at the intersection of Simcoe Street, where it intersects with Louisiana Avenue, you will see what was once a blighted, fire hazard eyesore is now almost 100% flat surface, ready for redevelopment. Now tonight, I announce the most challenging, the most threatening, and the most needed initiative of our city's history. Prevent Death, Lafayette. This is specific to prevent another death of the highest rated victim population in Lafayette, Black males. The death of Black males remains seemingly the only death that when it occurs, nothing changes. The initiative, although it identifies Black males, it acts as the most vulnerable population. It asks for participation from everyone. It has to be addressed by all sectors, individuals, groups, businesses, and agencies due to the impact of the act of killing. Culture, recreation, entertainment, arts, tourism, economy are all impacted. The housing market, our educational system, our government services, and most importantly, our families are heavily impacted. In order for us to create, we must deploy a PDL, Prevent Death, Lafayette. 2 things must change: circumstances and environment. We must birth the plan that will deal with the circumstances and environments that we see daily. To give you an example, we are very proud of the fact that now in Lafayette, we have a no-kill animal shelter. And that's something that we should all be proud of. But in order to get there, it took changes in circumstances in the environment. We did not get to no-kill by simply saying we will no longer do that. We did such things as adjusted rates for adoption. We adjusted times for adoption. We adjusted our access hours for opening and closing. We even created capture and release with our spay and neuter program. The point is, we don't get to no kill by waiting and doing nothing. It's going to take action on behalf of us. Why is it circumstances and environment? Why we cannot simply say that there's just too much crime in the black community? Why can't we just simply say black males are this and black males are that and blame it on parenting and other things? It is because if you evaluate Lafayette, everything that is not good about Lafayette seems to be isolated to an area, a particular community. Therefore, we must address the circumstances in the environment. The most horrific death, possibly in the history of Lafayette's existence, the killing of an officer, our beloved Officer Middlebrook. It's ironic that it was a white male who killed a white male in the environment that black males exist in every day. The point is, when you come into an environment, the idea of locking your doors and driving a little faster is being put on steroids. We have a problem. The Duval Street shooting should be the end of that problem. We are calling on Lafayette Consolidated Government, all chambers, all economic development organizations, all media, educational institutions, mental health providers, law enforcement personnel, the courts, and any other interested party to get involved in this initiative to prevent death. Lafayette, it is time that when a black boy dies, Lafayette feels it to the degree that it's no longer going to be status quo. It's no longer going to be a single day or night of news coverage and then return to business as usual. We have to take these things serious. If we're going to truly make Lafayette a great city, it cannot be simply by carving out things and creating cavities within our city limits and isolating those and leaving them to die a slow death by creating things like Upper Lafayette and still developing the South Side at an enormous rate and having our municipalities outgrow the city of Lafayette itself while the urban core deteriorates. If you are interested, please stand by for the next announcement, whereas we will have a town hall in the month of July calling all agencies to participate to birth an initiative to prevent death. Lafayette. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very well. Any other council announcements? Seeing none, I will now move over to the Executive Mayor President's report. At this time, I'd like to recognize Mayor President Mr. Robideau. Your mic is hot, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a couple of proclamations. The first one is the mobility awareness, and I'll read the proclamation. Whereas last year, Lafayette Consolidated Government chose to highlight its citizens with disabilities for their strength, courage, and perseverance in the face of great adversity, and we would like to take this opportunity to again highlight those citizens and reaffirm our commitment to their causes and let them know that their voices are heard. And whereas with the aid and support of Lafayette Consolidated Government Administration and staff, City Parish Council members, and the Mayor President's Awareness Committee for Citizens with Disabilities, we can make Lafayette a more inclusive city for all its citizens. And whereas our commitment to mobility begins with the Mayor President's Awareness Committee for Citizens with Disabilities through their continued efforts and leadership, and by extension, Lafayette Parish as a whole has a better understanding of the issues facing the disabled community. And whereas for the first time in history, Lafayette has a Disability Affairs Coordinator whose position allows Lafayette to grow and become more inclusive with every new idea and project, all with the express purpose of moving our community forward. Now, therefore, I, Joel Robideau, Mayor President of Lafayette Consolidated Government, on behalf of the citizens of the city and parish of Lafayette, am hereby pleased to proclaim May 2018 as National Mobility Awareness Month. Liam?
Liam, would you like to say something? Okay. Need some help with the mic? Okay.
Where we are this year is completely different, and that starts at the top, both from the leadership side and the council side. My role with the city is, as I see it, to facilitate change. And I would be able to do that because trying to see both sides, council, I just want you guys are there, and I know that I thank you for that. And obviously, Joel and everyone else listening, we are doing something brand new. And as long as you have me, I'm here to help. As long as you have the committee, we're here to help. So I think it's a good way to do it, and we really look forward to continuing it forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. The next proclamation is the Bike Month proclamation, whereas for more than a century, the bicycle has been an important part of the lives of most Americans, and whereas an ever-increasing number of Lafayette City Parish residents engage in cycling as an environmentally sound form of transportation, family-friendly recreation, and an excellent form of fitness, and whereas a safe cycling environment is a community asset, provides a key quality of life amenity that attracts new residents and businesses, and draws tourism spending, and whereas in the Lafayette Comprehensive Plan Vision Statement, residents express their desire for bicycle-friendly streets and a healthful community that prioritizes investments in quality recreation opportunities, and whereas Lafayette Consolidated Government seeks to include bicycle facilities and improvements as part of a complete transportation system providing viable and safe options for all modes, and whereas bicyclist and cycling advocacy groups throughout Lafayette Parish promote the benefits of cycling and work to increase public awareness of the rules, laws, and practices that reduce bicycle-related accidents, injuries, and fatalities. And whereas the education of both bicyclists and motorists regarding the proper and safe operation of both vehicles is important to ensure the safety and comfort of all road users. Now, therefore, I, Joel Robideau, Mayor President of Lafayette Consolidated Government, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2018 as Bike Month. And I think we have Blake David here to say a few words on safety. Thanks, Blake.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and thank you all for hearing me. I'll be as quick as I can. In conjunction with Bicycle Safety Month, we have the 3rd annual Bicycle Safety Festival. I'm Blake David at Broussard and David. It's really a neat event. With the amazing expansion of bicycle use, we've had more bicycle lanes. I'm kind of in a unique position to see the spike and sadly people being injured and worse in bicycle accidents. And so this has started 3 years ago. It's an effort. It's a combination of Lafayette Consolidated Government, Bike Lafayette, Trail, our law firm, Broussard and David, and this year we've actually included the Lafayette Public Library. And it's truly an educational event. People come out there, you learn about bicycle safety. We have obstacle courses for children, free bicycle helmet giveaways, free bicycle light giveaways, a bicycle giveaway. They'll inspect your bicycle to make sure it's good to go, and have some professionals there to talk about how motorists and bicyclists alike can make the roads safer. So it's a fun event, but very well attended, a great partnership. And this year we've moved 2 blocks down to Park Putnam on Lafayette Street, right next to the library, because it's right before the kickoff for the summer reading program for the library. So we've had hundreds of people, and this year it might be thousands of people. And thank you all for partnering with us, and we're excited about doing it again. Just want to invite everybody out there. There's also donuts and food and boudin, lots of good times, and some children's music bands. So it's fun as well as educational. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Oh, and totally free. Everything's free.
Mr. Chair, if I can call up Amber Gotcher and Jason Swear to come up. I just need clarification on the item they want to be recognized for. So that's Jason Swear and Amber Gotcher.
All right.
And that's all for me, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, you have? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It had slipped my mind to acknowledge, and I'm going to ask you as chair of the council to conduct a moment of silence in our chambers. A little over a week ago, we lost Dr. Rafael Barranco to death, obviously. And he was a very historical icon in the Lafayette community. Just a couple of things. He was actually the first African-American dentist to practice dentistry in Lafayette. He was one of the first of 2 African-Americans elected to the Lafayette Parish School Board, and he served there for 18 years in different capacities. He was very involved civically and socially. He has a wife and kids who are left behind, but due to his public service and his contributions that he has made to Lafayette and the greater Lafayette area, I would respectfully ask a moment of silence.
Granted.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woodrow. All right, moving next to ceremonial presentations. Chairman, can you please read?
Proclamation, National Gun Violence Awareness Day.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to give the floor to Ms. Lynette Cook. You hit your button. All right, okay.
Thank you, Chairman. Actually, June 2nd is going to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and this is the first year that Lafayette will recognize with a proclamation for this day. This proclamation is actually modeled after a state proclamation proposed by Senator Vincent Pierre of Lafayette, which was first established in June of 2016, and I'm honored to be able to present this proclamation, and it reads like this. Whereas every day 91 Americans are killed by gun violence and countless others are injured by guns, and Americans are more than 25 times more likely to be murdered with guns than people in other developed countries. And whereas protecting public safety in the communities he or she serves is among a legislator's highest responsibility, and support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from dangerous people. And whereas June 2nd, 2018 would have been the 20th birthday of Hattie Pendleton, a teenager who marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade, who was tragically shot and killed just 2 weeks later. Whereas to honor Hattie and those Americans whose lives are cut short or who are injured by shootings every day, a national coalition of organizations has designated June 2nd, 2018 as the 3rd annual National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And whereas the idea was initiated by a group of Hattie's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange, a color they chose because hunters wear orange to make their presence known to other hunters, and orange is a color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas anyone can join this campaign by pledging to wear orange on June 2nd to help raise awareness about gun violence, and by wearing orange on June 2nd, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives and human potential of Americans stolen by gun violence. And whereas it is desirable for citizens and public servants of the state of Louisiana to renew their commitment to reduce gun violence, to pledge to do all they can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands, and to encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep everyone safe. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Lafayette City Parish Council declares June 2nd as National Gun Violence Awareness Day on this 15th day of May, 2018, and further encourages all citizens of the great state of Louisiana to support their community's efforts to honor and value human lives by preventing the tragic effects of gun violence. Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to have Rhonda Gleason is here to say a few words.
Okay.
Yeah, bring your team.
Thank you so much. There are quite a few of us here. I apologize.
That's good.
And there's the other podiums, like if you have somebody else who would like to speak, they can go to either one.
Please do recognize the folks standing at their seats. I want to tell you thank you, Councilwoman Cook. When you attended our event in January and our 5th annual anniversary, the idea struck within you for Lafayette to recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day. We modeled our proclamation for those of us here, all of us, to recognize this day after Representative Vincent Pierre's proclamation, like you said, that he penned about 3 years ago. We've been celebrating June 2nd every year since. Our governor, the Honorable John Bel Edwards, is the first governor in the United States of America to recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day. So we're very proud to support the work that he's been doing. Councilman Boudreaux, I have to say that your, what was your initiative that you want to? PDL. We'd love to work with you because gun violence is not just an issue that's in the streets of our city. We also focus on, in terms of crime, we also focus on irresponsible gun deaths by what we would consider responsible gun owners. So there is a legislative aspect to what we do, but our outreach is to recognize the importance of being smart gun owners. Again, we don't, we're not out to remove the Second Amendment. We just want to remind people to be smart gun owners. And I know many of us here, even in our group, do own guns, but the data's in that there's too many deaths by guns, whether through crime or through sloppy ownership. So I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Councilwoman Cook.
Come up for a picture.
Oh, sure. Would you come this way so we could all be in the picture together?
That's all, yeah.
Ms. Williams, we do have a speaker.
Yes, sir. We do have one speaker, Lane St. Julian. Okay. You want to come up and let me know which item that you did want to sign in for? Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. That concludes the ceremonial presentation. Now we'll go to comments from the public. This portion of our meeting is an opportunity to make your voice heard before the council, the administration, and the public. This is the time to speak about topics that are not included as agenda items. As I noted earlier, requests to make comments specific to an agenda item should be made prior to the call for that agenda item by completing an electronic request to address the council form for each agenda item you wish to address. Please, we request that all matters regarding specific city parish employees be directed to the administration and that it not be addressed at this public forum. We as a council have a concern for the privacy and protection of government employees. With that said, however, if your concern is not resolved in either an expeditious or satisfactory fashion, there are other avenues which can be pursued, and we ask that you follow up with the council office. Also, please make note, confrontational statements and/or threats will not be tolerated. We ask that you conduct yourself in a civil manner and with the same courtesy that you would expect of others. 5-minute rule is in effect. First speaker, please.
First speaker, we have Andrew Hebert, who signed in as a registered city voter, and he signed in as well as a Lafayette Parish voter.
Okay.
Good evening. It's a historical night. Things are going to happen. But first of all, I want to thank the people who supported me in seeing that we do things right all these years. It's a tough job. I had people back there that said, keep going. Well, the mission isn't finished. So we're going to see if we can finish it. I'm going to reread the ballot that we voted on. Quote, shall the government of the Parish of Lafayette and the government of the City of Lafayette be merged into one unified government? I'm going to read your charter. Quote, Section 104, Consolidated Government. The governmental functions of the City of Lafayette are hereby consolidated with the governmental functions of the Parish of Lafayette. We're not consolidating governmental functions, we're consolidating the total governments. So you should not have two sets of books. You should have one property tax, one set of laws that applies to everybody. Equal representation amongst the taxpayers. The parish has it. Let me read your charter again. Sections 2-02, redistricting. The council by ordinance shall, if necessary, alter, change, or rearrange council district boundaries so as to provide for population equality amongst the districts as near as reasonably practical. It goes on. The procedure described above shall pertain and apply to the district boundaries for the city council of the city and/or the parish council of the parish, respectively. So you are the city council. And on numerous occasions, I have brought it to your attention that District 6 represents 100% of the city population. And District 9 represents only 7%. That is not taxation with equal representation. We need to fix that. This is the number it takes. 6. It just takes 6 of y'all to amend the charter, to put on the ballot November 1st, this election, to fix it. It just takes 6 of y'all. You don't need a commission. You can propose it and pass it with just 6, 2/3 majority, just like you rolled up the property tax millage rates, which increased our property taxes in the city without equal representation. We can fix it. Last meeting I was told, it is what it is. Mr. Boudreaux, I understand that. But I believe what is can be fixed and changed and corrected. And you guys got the power, and ladies, y'all have the power to give us the opportunity to fix the problems that everybody has recognized. I'm asking you, for my family and my friends and the people that believe in what I believe in, taxation with equal representation, to give us that opportunity. A city will be canvassing its property tax returns. They're going to have a resolution canvassing those property tax returns. That city is the city of Youngsville. They have a city council. They get taxation with equal representation. Then they can come here and talk to you as parish representatives. Well, they have 2 voices, 2 separate and distinct voices. Tonight, it's historical. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Cone. Applause, please.
Andy, referring to your suggestion that we would hold this election in November. We have been advised that the timeline does not allow for that in November, that the only opportunities that do exist if we indeed move forward on this would be in December or in March 30th or April of next year. Those are the only three opportunities available.
Okay. Next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Dr. Michael Walden.
Good evening and thank you. My name is Michael Walden. I live in District 3. I wanted to come out tonight and tell you that I support the Move the Mindset organization, and I support their objective of moving the statue of Alfred Mouton out of downtown and putting it in a more appropriate location. That statue is a symbol of a past that we need to show clearly is not our present. I would also want to inform you that my church, the board of directors of my church, and then through a congregational vote, have supported the Move the Mindset organization. We support their objectives. So thank you, and I hope you also will support the Move the Mindset organization and increase the understanding that people have of what that statue really means.
Next speaker, please.
Ray Green.
Terry, I see you took your jacket off. It is getting a little warm. I think it's going to
I
get
have
a
an
little
update.
warmer.
They just fixed one of the air conditions. The fuse went out, so we got one up. One is up and running. Working on the report on the second one.
You've already started my time?
I didn't start nothing, sir. That would be Mr.
Started
Joseph
it over. We started it over.
My name is Ray
Caught your
Green.
time I started.
You ready? My name is Ray Green. I'm the spokesman for Project Armchair. You'll have to pardon the voice. It's a little rusty. So I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. Some have asked me, how long are you going to keep this up in talking about Project Armchair? A reminder, it took God and Moses 10 times going to the Pharaoh crying out, "Let my people go." Well, I'm here tonight to say, let my people have armchairs. And I'm not going to give it up because it's going to be around for the next 100,000 years if we have that long. I will not be asking tonight for an ordinance pertaining to Project Armchair. I've been denied a request to be back on the agenda for a discussion, not a debate. Some have absolutely refused this request. Now, in addition, some of the council refuse even to answer my phone calls in response to what I call and ask, what is the real problem? I've talked to 4 members on the side. The only response I get is, we don't like to mandate to people. Enter mass confusion and misunderstanding. Once again, after a lot of due diligence, we have the answer to some questions asked earlier, but I don't have the common courtesy or the response that you owe the people to put me on the agenda for discussion. Now, what some of you do not recognize is that mandates are not always a bad or a negative word. Mandate also means the same as shall, a command, an order, a law, an ordinance. This nation is founded on good mandates. They are necessary for a civilized society. Our cornerstones are based on good mandates. Good examples are the 10 Commandments. which contains 8 different shalls and shall nots. God did not say suggestion or invitation. He says shall and shall not. The Bill of Rights, for example, 100 mandates. The Constitution of the United States, the most perfectly written document in history, contains over 188 shalls. But you tell me we don't like to mandate. The question that I will be asking tonight is, why have some of this council, 5 to be exact, gone against your own words and have turned your back on thousands of local, some senior citizens, some disabled veterans, some expectant mothers, and some short-term disabled individuals with broken legs, knees, hips, braces, and so forth. I say some because these groups, all of them are not affected, but there certainly are a lot of them affected. Now, please do not misunderstand this statement. I am not making threats. Let me repeat. I am not making threats, merely making you aware of some of our options, which I hate to say and bring up at this time, but it appears we have no choice. Options include possible protests, demonstrations, and possible legal action. Because of safety and equal rights issues, and your refusal to address the issues, there is a possibility of forthcoming legal action. You should be aware of the Civil Rights Act relating to equal rights in public places, which we do not have. Also, a section in the Code of Federal Regulations relating to major life's activities, which includes seating. I have an appointment this Thursday with a civil rights attorney to discuss this possibility of taking a couple of actions. One, an official complaint in accordance with the Lafayette Consolidated Government Home Rule Charter, and 3 additional items. Disability discrimination, we need to talk. Dereliction of duty, we need to talk. And for kickers, malignant neglect, we need to talk. Now, these actions can be avoided with some cooperation and consideration on this council's part. In closing, I am respectfully requesting to be put on the agenda for a discussion on Project Armchair. And the choice is up to you. Do any of you have any questions? Because it's coming, gentlemen. There is no way that this will never happen. Any questions, I hope?
Not seeing any.
Pardon?
Not seeing any at this time.
As Arnold Schwarzenegger says, I'll be back.
Next speaker, please.
Larry Glover.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Larry Glover. I live in District 6. I'm here with Ray. We have things to do. We don't demand that these restaurants put armchairs in it. We're asking them to do it. We don't ask any punitive results if they fail to do it. We're just getting tired of going to places where it's a struggle to get up and down. We've looked at different options. Heck, we've reached out to federal foundations. We're starting to get a lot of interest. We wanted Lafayette to be the first place that actually welcomed people with armchairs, and we've got nowhere. Like I said, we do not ask punitive actions against these people, but the word spreads. As people go out and dine quite a bit, we vote with our dollars. The community can also vote with their dollars. Those places that have suitable armchairs for us to get up and down from, we welcome going there, and the word will spread. I volunteer at the VA clinic. We have hundreds of people coming in. The word is getting out. Not a threat, just the word is getting out. We will vote with our dollars. Thank you.
Speaker, please.
Michael Ferguson.
Would the members of Move the Mindset please stand and be recognized? Thank you. My name is Michael Scott Ferguson. I'm here as a member of Move the Mindset to provide the council with a list of concerns that some citizens of Lafayette have expressed of removing the General Alfred Mouton Monument and some responses to those concerns. As we've stated in the past, our intent is not to destroy the monument, but to find it a new home, such as a museum, Confederate cemetery, or other contextualized location. The responses are based on those of ULL Professor Dr. Rick Swanson in his letter to the editor that appeared in the local news publication, The Independent, on March 10th, 2016. One concern is that moving the Mouton statue would be like the Taliban tearing down statues. The response, preserving the statue in a contextualized location, would not be destructive. Monuments can and have been moved without damaging them. Another concern is that we will be attempting to erase the past if the Mouton statue is moved. The response, the statue was part of the Lost Cause effort to erase the past history of slavery, the Confederacy's fight to preserve slavery, violence by white supremacist groups during Reconstruction, and Jim Crow segregation. Moving the statue will allow this erased history to be remembered. Another concern is that moving the Mouton statue will divide our community. The response, the statue is a symbol of past racial divisions. Moving it to a contextualized location will allow this erased history to be remembered. Another concern is that we are reopening old wounds. The response, the city owns the Mouton statue. This is a statue that officially glorifies the Confederate cause to preserve slavery, which is a recurring wound. Moving it to a contextualized location would right a wrong that continues to demean a significant part of our community. Another concern is that moving the statue would dishonor the Mouton family and Cajun culture. The response, there are many ways to honor the Mouton family and Cajun culture without celebrating Alfred's fighting for the Confederacy. My grandmother was a Mouton. Some have suggested adding a positive monument such as a statue of Clifton Chenier. The response, that does not solve the problem of a government statue that officially glorifies the Confederate cause. It has been suggested that why don't we just remove all the monuments of former presidents who owned slaves while we're at it? The response, there's a difference between someone who helped to create a country based on freedom and equality, even though they hypocritically owned slaves, than someone who fought to create a country based on slavery and white supremacy. Of course, this is not an exhaustive list of concerns and responses. As we receive new concerns, we will respond to them to the best of our abilities, and those responses will be shared publicly on Google Docs. That's Google Docs. The link to the shared document is on the handout I have provided to the clerk. There's a copy for each of the council members. It's our hope that this document or its digital version can help you respond to concerns your constituents may have in the future regarding moving the General Alfred Mouton Monument. In conclusion, we do not accept the opinion presented by the city attorney in 2016 regarding the movement of the statue. He implied that the injunction presently restricting the statue to its present location is an injunction in perpetuity based on case law. There is no such concept as an injunction in perpetuity in state nor federal law. Therefore, we solicit your support and assistance to move the statue for reasons aforementioned. Thank you. I would like to submit this document for public record to the clerk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very much. Next speaker, please.
Jean Menard.
Good evening. I'm also a member of Move the Mindset and have a few comments. The controversy around the Jim Crow statue, located prominently downtown Lafayette, has absolutely nothing to do with the life of Alfred Mouton and everything to do with honestly addressing our past so we can move forward toward the future. Still, I'd like to quote a passage from a book by William Arsenault titled Acadian General Alfred Mouton and the Civil War. Open quote, by the late 1850s, Louisiana's power elite had come to believe that secession was necessary to preserve slavery, the basic source of wealth. So pervasive was slavery, in fact, that of the total population of Louisiana in 1860, only 51% was white, end quote. I could go on and list many interesting facts found in the book, including the prominence of the Mouton family, the wealth transfer to each generation, and even Alfred Mouton's early interest in vigilantism, which was considered as troublesome at the time as the outlaws they purported to stop. But the truth is, white women who were members of an elite private group chose one of Jean Mouton's descendants for a very specific reason for which we should all be clear. The concrete replica was not installed to mark Alfred Mouton's life upon the event of his passing in war. No, the monument was indeed placed in front of the Lafayette courthouse during the Jim Crow era, more than 50 years after his death. The monument is a result of a private group colonizing our public space, and as such, it would never be allowed today. In fact, it was erected at a time when other monuments were going up all over the United States to justify Jim Crow laws and assert white supremacy. I realize this makes many people uncomfortable, but history is often full of terrible truths. The monument was erected in 1922 as a visible tribute to a Confederate fighter to remind black people that white people fought to maintain ownership of them, to remind them to stay in their place, to stay out of their schools, to use their own segregated water fountains and bathrooms, and to stay at the back of the bus. If the statue had been about the history of Acadians who were exiled from Nova Scotia, came to a new frontier, and persevered through the hardships while still holding on to their culture, I propose the statue would be to Jean Mouton, the actual founder of Lafayette, rather than his grandson. No, the real reason is much more obvious. It was erected when the South was fighting to resist political rights for black citizens. It's not about honor or admiration. It's about white supremacy. We can't erase that ugly part of our history as a country. Black people were treated deplorably, and we can never take that back. But one small thing we can do is move that symbol. We can say, we get it. We regret it happened. We recognize the error of our ways, and we want to make it better. Let's utilize publicly shared spaces to reflect our melting pot culture. Let's show the world that the South can progress, that Lafayette will move forward together in the interest of making everyone feel welcome here. Let's prove to the world that we respect all men, and we know that they were created equal, even though some were given a hand up, while others were treated like animals and brought here in chains. We can be the generation to move us all forward, to make everyone feel welcome in our beautiful city. Let's move that Jim Crow statue. Let's move our community into the 21st century, and let's tell the African American community we regret the error of our ways. It won't change history. It won't erase the past, but it can move us forward together into a more honest future. Thank you, and I'd like to submit this for the record.
speaker, please.
Fred Prejean.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Fred Prejean. I am chairman of the organization known as Move the Mindset. I'd like to thank Mr. Boudreau for his comments regarding the Prevent Death Lafayette. You provided the perfect context for what is being said now in reference to the statue that stands in opposition to freedom. As previously stated, our organization, Move the Mindset's mission is to educate the citizens of Lafayette about the history including the Civil War, Reconstruction, the Lost Cause ideology, the Jim Crow era, and the Civil Rights era. Our ultimate mission is to have the Alfred Mouton statue removed from its present location and placed in a museum or other location where it's in an appropriate context and one that can be understood. In February 2016, we attended a Parish Council meeting in which many of our members voiced these concerns pertaining to the Jim Crow statue in our town square. Since then, we have sponsored educational events in the community to address the racial history of the region, a history which includes the lynching of 6 African Americans in Lafayette Parish. You will learn more about this very shortly in the months to come. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. In 2016, 2017, 2018, we have conducted newspaper, TV, civil, social, and religious organization interviews, presentations supporting our education program of removing the Jim Crow statue. Our events have also included presentations on the history of black civil rights in Lafayette Parish from 1774 to 1970. We have had presentations of the documentary films 13 and Slavery by Another Name. We held rallies and press conferences to call for the removal of the statue in August of 2017 and April of 2018. And we were joined by 15 local organizations, both civil and social organizations, and religious leaders. 15, I would like to repeat, who are now members and support us. We've conversed with school board members to solicit their support and involvement in promoting the local history of black people of our city and parish. We've interviewed and videoed visitors to our city's Festival International de Lafayette, and will soon release them on all internet social programs and networks. We continue to address the City Parish Council, as we are today, to lobby and inform you as to why the Jim Crow statue should be moved. To conceive in concise, it should be moved to concise locations. We invited all of you to a presentation recently conducted by Dr. Rick Swanson, and I would like to congratulate those of you who have seen the presentation, the 2 lady council persons, Mr. Boudreau, Mr. Lewis. The remainder of you, I can understand some of you may have had other plans made before we extended the invitation. But there are 6 of you, 6, who gave us no response to the invitation that we extended. It was 6 white men who did not have the opportunity to learn about the history of 1/3 of the population of Lafayette, a population that was once over 50% when they were slaves. We are going to continue to try to involve you in the education process we're extending to all citizens of Lafayette, in hopes that you will soon, one day, join with us in helping to move the statue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please.
Mary Ann Vaccaro.
Mary Ann Vaccaro, District 8, and I just really came actually tonight to ask if possibly Mr. Mark Dubrock would happen to be amid the people in this large audience tonight. I'd like to just talk a few minutes with him, and that is really why I came. And I just want to say this has been a very enlightening meeting thus far. So that's all that I have to say. Would he be in, that I could speak directly to him?
Yes, ma'am. He is here.
So if he would,
he'll have to.
could he meet me in the hallway just for a few moments? I'd really appreciate it. And I thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Dubrock had the request. It's up to you. He'll meet you out in the hallway, Miss Marianne. Thank you, Mr. Dubrock. Appreciate it. Next speaker, please.
Barry Baskell.
Hello, thank you. My name is Barry Baskell. I don't have a title. I've been called a few things, but no title as of yet. My issue is not as grand as the one here that most of the speakers have spoken to, but I do applaud them and support them. So that being said, 5 minutes isn't a long time, which I learned last month, so picking up where I left off. On the abandonment of Lippy Boulevard, 3 out of the 6 studies that were required for the abandonment checklist were not approved. It's 3 of the 6. And I'm just curious how it was approved with that being the case. That, however, is going to take more than 5 minutes also. So I'm simply going to ask that I live on Cecile Drive, where thousands of cars have been detoured because of the closing of Lippy. If we can have some speed limit signs, 2 probably, for 1 each way, that would be appreciated highly. I've kind of been waiting for about 5 weeks on something to happen with that, so I figured the whole board may be able to pitch in and get that done. And maybe any other signs that could help control the traffic on that street. Children at play, maybe. My son is handicapped, but he wouldn't want a sign out like that, so I'll take that back. But anything that can help control the flow. Just on the weekend, there's 6 masses, there's 900 people in the church. So that's, 5,600 vehicles? That's not counting the school every day. That's not counting every day or every night there's something at the church. And this isn't about the church. This is how the hell did Lippy Boulevard be allowed to close when it only services the school and the church, and the roads around it get all the traffic? I made it before my 5 minutes. Any answers?
Actually, Ms. Councilwoman Annette Cook would like to chime in.
Hello, Mr. Baskell. It's good to see you again. It's getting to be a regular thing here.
Every month, I guess,
Yeah,
from
no,
now
I
for
know,
the
it's
next
all good.
2 to 3 years at 5 minutes.
We've kind of exchanged several emails back and forth, and the things that you talked about tonight were things that were addressed in some of the emails, and I have not forgotten about you. I will hopefully be able to give you some answers on all those questions within the week. We'll work on that. But I do want you to know that they have been addressed. Speed limit signs were ordered and should be coming. As far as the number of parking places, that, you know, the discrepancy in what they need and what they have, that was also addressed with Public Works and Department of Planning and Development. I'm still waiting for some verification on that. So
And I understand this is a much bigger issue, and it will be a bigger issue. But for now, if I can get just the speed limit signs, I will pick them up and put them in if that's necessary. I know
Well,
that
I'll tell them
getting
that.
a ditch dug has gotten
be careful
to be
what you ask for,
12,
yeah.
well, it's been
Okay.
12 months to come out and clear my drains.
All
so,
right.
Welcome
Can
back,
I get
Mark.
your
I
phone
would
number? I'll have them call you.
gladly.
Yeah. All right. No, I
I'm serious.
I am aware of it, and I want you to know I have not forgotten you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Next speaker, please.
Melanie Brevis.
Good evening. My name's Melanie Brevis. I'm in District 8, and I'm here tonight just to make sure that we as a parish are still keeping flooding and drainage as a priority. I know it can be difficult at times like these when it hasn't rained in at least 3 weeks, except for this afternoon, to remember that people are still fearful about rain and rising waters, but the problem is still there. Last week, we met with Harriet Festing, who is the head of the nonprofit Flood Forum USA. She visited Lafayette, and she met with individuals and neighborhoods which have been impacted by severe and continued flooding. Her goal through her work is to make sure that these individuals are receiving information from FEMA and others, which is 100% accurate, and that they are receiving the maximum help that they can get. We met with people who have severe repetitive loss or repetitive loss on their homes, and without having any drainage work done on those problem areas and seeing how shallow some of the coulees around them are, they live afraid that the next heavy rain will again bring water again into their homes. People have pictures, people have documentation of water from new developments pouring into their own neighborhoods. I ask that you please provide us with regular updates, either at these meetings or on your website, on what drainage work has been started and or completed, especially the drainage work that is being done, excuse me, with the tax rededication money and with the $25 million in FEMA money that was dedicated for regional projects. Just knowing what progress is being made and how funds are being used, I believe will help alleviate some people's concerns and worries. Not solve problems, but at least make people feel a little bit better. And also, I'm not sure about the details of the application process for grant funding through the Louisiana statewide flood control program. I know that the resolution was approved at our last council meeting, but I really hope that this is prioritized and that we can get the ball rolling on that. I also ask that local leaders look again and see what help and assistance they can give those who have flooded multiple times. 3 people we spoke with last week reported feeling stuck in a terrible situation, unable to sell their homes even when they have dropped the price, and I know there's plenty more people out there who feel the same. In one of the neighborhoods we visited, Plantation Townhomes, it was heartbreaking to see the number of for sale or for rent signs in just that one little community. It actually reminded me of neighborhoods you saw on the news after the housing market collapsed, where more people are trying to get out versus stay put in a single community. If you can't find large pots of money to help these neighborhoods, then I ask that you could at least consider investing in reasonable solutions that could help for the short term. For Plantation Townhomes, for example, more needs to be done than just a single or double layering of sandbags along the coulee. For folks who have suffered severe repetitive or even just repetitive loss, assistance like an aqua dam could at least help their own individual properties from taking on water yet again. It is just not fair that people who have paid their taxes and been good citizens find their homes in constant danger and will continue to do so through no fault of their own. We hear time and again at these meetings that funds are not there and that our tax base is shrinking. Okay, but I don't see this as something optional. If we don't correct this situation and somehow, be it curbing new development and instead encouraging redevelopment of existing space, or just spending more to help people cope with flooding, we are going to lose bigger long term. People will move away, new people won't want to move here, at least not to commit as home buyers, and businesses will stop wanting to invest here if this region demonstrates time and again that they have no defense ready against flooding. So long term, we need to think about who will actually be here to keep our economy healthy, and that's its citizens. Thank you.
Yes, the administration, if you don't mind, maybe Mr. Dewey or Mr. Roboto, I don't know if you can hear, but in the past couple of days, I've had a couple of inquiries just to tag along with what she mentioned. If we can get an update of where the rededicated monies are with the projects that was listed and presented to us, if y'all could get that, we'd appreciate an update. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Terrio. Next speaker.
Final speaker, Kim Goodale.
I read a headline this morning from a nationwide news source. White House officials fear PR nightmare from drinking water standards. The article went on to say the expected fallout would be extremely painful. Quote, the public, media, and congressional reaction is going to be huge. From an unnamed White House Intergovernmental Affairs official, this was written in a letter forwarded to the EPA. I ask, is it a PR nightmare or is it a drinking water problem? Do we find comfort in knowing that this is a problem throughout our country? Do we take comfort in knowing that more than 350 of Louisiana's 1,200 plus municipal water facilities also have significant water quality problems, posing significant health risks? When I read the article, I could not help but think of Lafayette's water supply and main facility. Our facility is sandwiched between several hazardous sites. Yet we continue to draw for distribution to our citizenry 11 million gallons a day from our Chico aquifer, and EPA